The third party who saved no one inch. My name is Isabella Moore, and for 30 years, I lived in a house where my existence was treated like an inconvenience. My husband convinced our grown sons that I was a third party, not family, not blood, not worthy of respect. But the day life flipped the script, the day his own doctrine turned against him, that is the day my silent revenge began. The first time my husband Marcus told our boys that I wasn't blood, we were sitting at the dinner table in our home in Atlanta. I had cooked his favorite lemon pepper chicken. The boys were teenagers then, but already nodding along to his poisonous philosophy. Marcus said it casually, like sharing a weather update. Remember, sons, your wives are third parties. Only your blood matters. Then he looked at me with a smirk. I felt myself crack inside, but I stayed silent for them. He trained our sons, David, Michael, and Aaron, to see me as an outsider. Soon they stopped hugging me, stopped asking for advice, stopped calling me mom unless they wanted something. For the world, I pretended we were perfect. But in that house, I was merely furniture. I didn't know then the universe was watching, waiting. And one day it would make Marcus swallow every word he'd ever spoken. Before I continue, please subscribe to my channel to see more interesting stories and also keep me motivated to serve you better. Thank you. By year 15 of our marriage, I had mastered invisibility. Marcus would walk into the living room in our Charlotte home and speak to the boys about family decisions, while I sat right there. If I dared contribute, he'd wave me off. Let the men talk, Isabella. The boys absorbed every bit of it. They'd interrupt me, raise their voices over mine, dismiss my opinions. I had given them life, but they treated me like a distant aunt visiting too long. One evening, I overheard Marcus telling our sons, "If anything ever happens to me, remember, blood is who you look after." I remember standing behind the doorframe, holding the laundry basket, feeling my chest tighten. If anything ever happened to him, I wasn't family. I wasn't blood. I wasn't to be considered. My heart broke quietly, piece by piece. But life has a strange way of circling back. And when it did, none of them were ready. It was a humid evening in Houston when Marcus collapsed. I was in the kitchen cooking when I heard the thud. At the hospital, the doctor's expression told me everything before he spoke. "Mrs. Moore, both kidneys are failing. He will need a transplant. Urgently." My first instinct was human, fear for the man I had called husband for 30 years. But that instinct lasted only until the boys arrived. They didn't rush to him. They didn't cry. They didn't panic. They simply asked the doctor, "So, what happens now? Can't he get in line or something?" No warmth. No concern. No love. And for the first time I realized, Marcus had built this coldness himself. The doctor ordered tests from all his siblings, cousins, and our sons. One by one, the results came in. No match. Not even close. When the boys found out they weren't matches, they shrugged as though they'd failed a video game mission. "Well, that's life," David said. "Guess he'll have to wait his turn," Michael added. Marcus, weak and confused, looked at them with panic. "Aren't you going to step up?" "I'm your father," Aaron replied coldly. "Dad, you're the one who always said blood stands alone. If we're not enough, then maybe you were wrong." I watched Marcus's face crumble, and inside me something shifted. For the first time in 30 years, I did not feel small. I felt seen. Nurses tried to talk to the boys. His siblings refused to come near. Everyone Marcus had elevated as more important than me abandoned him. He cried one night when he thought I was asleep in the chair beside him. "I didn't raise them right," he whispered. "I made them cold just like me." My heart stung, but not from pity. It stung from truth. He had built a kingdom of emotional ice, and now he was freezing alone inside it. I remembered the years of disrespect, the insults, the way he turned my children against me. Part of me wanted to comfort him, but the other part whispered, "Revenge doesn't always need rage. Sometimes it just needs silence." A week later, the doctor pulled me aside. "Mrs. Moore, your kidney is a perfect match." For a moment, the air left my body, not because I feared the surgery, but because I suddenly had power. Power I never asked for. Power I was never allowed. Power he could never take away. Marcus looked at me with desperate eyes, the arrogance gone. Isabella, please, you're my wife. I blinked slowly. Wife. The same wife you told your sons was not blood? A third party? Disposable? I didn't say a word. I simply walked away. And that silence scared him more than anger ever could. The boys called for a family meeting at the hospital cafeteria. For the first time ever, they invited me. The irony tasted sweet. David started. Mom, the doctors said you're the only match. Michael added, this is serious. Dad could die. Aaron leaned in. We need you to step up. Step up. Me. The woman they treated like a tenant. I looked at them, all grown men, shaped by their father's cruelty, and now choking on its consequences. Your father taught you I wasn't family, I said softly. You believed him. Now honor that belief. Their jaws dropped. For once, they were the ones left speechless. Marcus fell apart that night. He clung to my hand, tears streaming. I was wrong, Isabella. I was wrong about everything. His voice shook as he pleaded. I made you a ghost in your own home. I made the boys treat you like nothing. But please don't let me die. He had never apologized in 30 years. Not once. And now he was begging for the life inside my body. I felt no triumph. Only clarity. Sometimes karma doesn't knock. Sometimes it walks in wearing your face. The hospital ethics committee called me in. They explained that donation was voluntary, that I was under zero obligation, that Marcus was stable for now but running out of time. Walking out of that room, I felt something I hadn't felt since the day I married him. Control over my own life. I sat alone in the hospital chapel, letting the weight of 30 years press down on me. The disrespect, the belittlement, the emotional isolation. I whispered to myself, he forgot I was a third party. But I didn't. My revenge didn't need to be loud. It just needed to be righteous. When I told the doctor my decision, he looked shocked. When the boys found out, they were furious. When Marcus heard, he broke. I told them simply, I will not donate. I am not blood. I am not family. But what none of them realized was this. My revenge was not refusal. It was the next step I was already planning. A step that would turn all of them upside down. A step that would expose everything Marcus had hidden. A step that would rewrite the ending of this story forever. After refusing the kidney donation, I returned home in Houston to collect clothes. While searching through Marcus's old files for his medical insurance, I discovered something else. A brown envelope labeled Family Trust. Inside were documents I had never seen. Property deeds. A secret bank account. Insurance policies. And most painful, a trust fund only for the boys. My name wasn't on a single page. Not as a beneficiary. Not as a spouse. Not even as a human being who lived in that home for 30 years. There was even a handwritten note. Only blood inherits. Wife gets nothing. My hands trembled, not from shock, but from confirmation. He had planned to erase me long before he needed me. Looking at those papers, a new clarity formed. He may have denied me for years, but now he needed the one thing only I had. Life. And that meant the balance of power was shifting. Permanently. When the boys heard about the trust documents, they confronted me as if I were stealing something. Michael stepped forward. Mom, Dad's trust is none of your concern. David added, you refusing to donate is selfish. What happened to being a mother? Aaron, always the coldest, said, you're behaving like a stranger. A stranger. A third party. The very identity their father crafted for me. I smiled, a slow, sad smile. I learned from the best. They weren't expecting that. And for the first time, they saw me not as a doormat, but as a wall they couldn't push through. But that wasn't the end. Not even close. One afternoon, Marcus's sister, Aunt Lorraine, asked to meet me in the hospital courtyard. She had always been distant, but never cruel. Isabella, she said, I need to tell you something before it's too late. She confessed that Marcus grew up believing women were replaceable. His own father taught him that wives were helpers, not family. That doctrine ran deep, generation to generation. But then she whispered something that froze me. Marcus once told us that if he ever got sick, he'd never rely on you. He said you were good for cooking and keeping the house, but not blood. Not blood. His favorite phrase. Lorraine sighed. But now he needs you, and for the first time he sees the truth. The blood he trusted has abandoned him. Her words didn't soothe me. They fueled me, because I realized his downfall wasn't my doing. He built it brick by brick. That evening, Marcus asked to see me alone. He was on dialysis, thinner, older, fragile. He reached for my hand. "I don't deserve your kindness," he whispered. "Or your kidney." My heart contracted. After 30 years, I was finally hearing the words I begged for. But they arrived only because he was dying. He confessed everything, how he trained the boys to see me as less, how he ensured I'd inherit nothing, how he believed women were temporary accessories in a man's life. "I thought being a man meant being above you," he said. "I was wrong. You're the only person who never left." Tears filled his eyes. For a moment, sympathy nudged me. But then I remembered every lonely night, every insult, every time he turned my children against me. His confession wasn't redemption. It was desperation. And I would not mistake one for the other. The boys returned, this time with fury. They cornered me in the hallway. David scowled. "Mom, this has gone far enough." Michael added, "If Dad dies, it's on you." Aaron stepped closer. "We will never forgive you." I inhaled deeply, letting their words wash over me without sinking. They wanted guilt. They wanted fear. They wanted my heart to soften. But something unexpected happened instead. I felt free. 30 years of emotional chains snapped. "I've forgiven you boys many times," I said quietly. "But I no longer owe you my life." Their shock was a silent victory. Because for once, I wasn't bending. I was standing. I met with an attorney in downtown Houston, a calm, sharp woman named Attorney Bishop. I explained the trust documents, the absence of my name, the decades of financial exclusion. She reviewed everything and said the words I least expected. "Mrs. Moore, you actually have legal rights your husband cannot erase. Marital property laws in Texas protect you. And if he dies without amending his will," she paused, "you inherit 50% by default." My breath caught. Marcus's plan to freeze me out was legally impossible. He thought I was powerless. But the law said otherwise. A slow smile crept across my face. Not out of greed, but justice. Poetic, elegant justice. Marcus asked for me again. His voice was hoarse, but his eyes were clear. "Isabella, I want to change the will. I want to fix what I broke." But when the boys heard this, they exploded. "You can't give her our inheritance. She's not blood. Dad, you can't betray us like this."
Betray.
That word hit me like a slap. They called fairness betrayal. They called justice betrayal. They called respect betrayal. Marcus looked at them, then at me, and whispered, "I did this to them. I poisoned them." That was the first time he took true accountability. And strangely, that small honesty mattered. But it didn't erase his past. Or his future. A nurse accidentally left his room door open while speaking to a younger colleague. They discussed his case openly. No donor match. No willing family. Alienated everyone. Even his sons won't help. People passing by stared into his room with pity and judgment. For the first time, Marcus felt what I lived with for 30 years. Isolation. Coldness. Being overlooked. Being treated like a burden. That night he wept. And I watched silently. My revenge wasn't to hurt him. It was for him to understand. To finally feel the world he created for me. And the universe delivered it perfectly. Marcus's condition worsened. The doctors said bluntly, "He may not last the month without a transplant." The boys panicked. But their panic wasn't love. It was fear of losing inheritance, losing their father's protection, losing stability. They begged other relatives. No one came. They offered money. Still no match. They even tried to guilt me again. But I had already chosen my path. Not donating wasn't revenge. It was self-preservation. After 30 years of emotional abuse, giving him an organ would be giving away the last piece of myself. A piece he never valued. One quiet night, Marcus asked for me again. When I entered, he reached out weakly. "I'm not asking for your kidney anymore," he whispered. "I just want forgiveness." Forgiveness. The one thing he never gave me. "I want you to know," he said, struggling to breathe. "If I could go back, I would treat you like the family you always were." His voice cracked. "You were never a third party. You were the only home I had." Tears filled my eyes, not for him, but for the woman I used to be. The one who waited decades to hear those words. But now, they came too late. And the final chapter of my revenge, poetic, powerful, was about to begin. A week later, Marcus asked for something no one expected. He requested a meeting with Attorney Bishop in the hospital. The boys arrived first, irritated and restless. I walked in quietly afterward. Marcus looked at all of us, his breathing shallow but determined. "Attorney Bishop, I want to revise my will." The boys leaned forward, smiling. I stood still, expressionless. He continued, "I want Isabella to receive everything. The house, the savings, the trust, all assets. Everything we built in 30 years. The boys erupted instantly. "What? Dad, you can't do this. She's not blood." The irony stung the air like electricity. Marcus raised a trembling hand. "Your mother is the only one who stood by me. You three walked away the moment things got difficult." Aaron scoffed. "Because you raised us that way." Silence. A devastating, undeniable truth. Marcus signed the papers anyway. Every stroke of his pen cut 30 years of injustice clean through. This was not revenge. This was truth settling into its rightful place. When the boys realized the will was legally binding, they turned on each other. "I worked for Dad's company more than both of you. You think you deserve the house over me?" She manipulated him. "No. You failed him." Their voices echoed down the hospital corridor. I watched from a distance. The empire Marcus built on favoritism and male superiority was crumbling from within. Their father's ideology, blood over everything, had turned them against me, against each other, and now against him. The doctor approached and whispered, "They're falling apart. But you're the calmest person in this storm." Because for the first time in my life, I wasn't fighting to be seen. I was seen by life itself. Marcus grew weaker. That final night, he asked for me again. The room was dim, machines humming softly. He reached for my hand, his grip faint. "Isabella, I'm sorry for how I treated you. Sorry for the years I stole from you. Sorry for making you feel unwanted." Tears rolled down his cheeks. He wasn't begging for a kidney. Not anymore. He was begging for peace. "I don't deserve forgiveness," he whispered. "But if you can give it, please do." My own tears fell. Not because I loved him, but because 30 years of pain finally had a witness him. "I forgive you," I said. "But forgiveness isn't forgetting." His eyes softened. Relief washed over his face like a final sunrise. And with a faint breath, he left the world. Quietly. Like he had quietly broken me for decades. Only this time, I was the one who remained standing. After the funeral in Atlanta, the boys approached me. Not with anger, not with entitlement, but with fear. David spoke first. "Mom, we don't hate you. We grew up wrongly." Michael added. "Dad taught us things we thought were right. But seeing how everything ended, Mom, we were wrong." Aaron, the coldest, broke down crying. "I'm sorry, Mom. Their apologies were late, but not hollow. And for the first time in years, I saw my children, not as Marcus shaped them to be, but as human beings searching for redemption. But forgiveness? That was a journey, not a moment. and I would no longer rush to give pieces of myself away. 3 months later, the estate probate ended. I became the full legal owner of the family home in Atlanta, the Houston property, the savings accounts, the company's shares, the family trust, Marcus's life insurance. The boys received nothing not because of me, but because of the doctrine their father built, the doctrine that came back to devour him and everything he valued. But here was the twist. I didn't use my victory to punish the boys. Instead, I created a new trust, the Moore Legacy Fund. Its terms were simple. They could access it only if they attended therapy, repaired relationships, and demonstrated compassion. This was justice, not petty revenge. Healing, not destruction. Rebirth, not ruin. The most poetic part? Marcus always said wives are third parties and contribute nothing. Yet in the end, the third party was the one who saved the family he destroyed. The third party was the only real bloodline that mattered. The third party became the only true heir. I signed the trust papers and closed the folder. For the first time in 30 years, I breathed. I lived. I existed fully. Because in the end, the third party became the only one who didn't abandon him, and the only one strong enough to rise after he fell. Thank you for listening to my story. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share my videos. Thank you.